They said it was nothing personal, just numbers, just efficiency. That was the phrase the board used when they called Daniel Mercer into the glass conference room on a Monday morning. The room was spotless, silent, expensive, floor-to-ceiling windows, polished table, faces that looked sympathetic without actually feeling anything. Daniel had seen that look before. He had learned long ago what it meant. Daniel had been with the company for 14 years, not 14 easy years. He joined when the firm had one floor, unstable cash flow, and no clear direction. Back when survival mattered more than branding. He stayed late when no one asked him to. He solved problems no one wanted ownership of. He built systems quietly, methodically, without applause. He trained managers who would later outrank him. He stabilized operations during downturns that nearly broke the company. He was never the loudest voice in the room. He didn't post motivational quotes on LinkedIn. He didn't chase visibility. He believed the work would speak for itself, and it did, just not for him. When systems failed, people asked for Daniel. When deadlines slipped, Daniel fixed them. When regulators raised concerns, Daniel smoothed things out. And when everything worked exactly as it should, no one mentioned his name at all. That morning, the board thanked him for his dedication and explained that the company was restructuring. They used careful words: optimized, streamlined, future-focused. They had found someone younger, cheaper, more energetic. A cost optimization move. Daniel listened without interrupting. He had learned that people reveal more when you don't stop them. He nodded once. He signed the exit paperwork calmly. Then he asked one question, his voice steady. "Will this change affect my non-compete?" The legal counsel glanced at the document. "No," she said. Everything remained the same. Daniel smiled politely. He shook hands. He wished them luck. He left the building carrying a cardboard box that felt lighter than it should have. The new hire's name was Evan, fresh MBA, half the salary, full confidence. Evan believed speed was the same as progress. In his first weeks, he rewrote processes he didn't fully understand. He removed controls he thought were inefficient. He dismissed warnings as legacy thinking. Daniel had built resilience. Evan built shortcuts. At first, nothing broke. Revenue stayed flat. Reports looked clean. The board congratulated themselves. They had saved money. They had made the right decision. Then small cracks appeared. Vendor contracts auto-renewed without renegotiation. Compliance reports were filed late. A minor regulatory fine appeared, then another. Evan blamed outdated systems. He requested more budget. The board approved it. 6 months later, a major client quietly terminated their contract. No drama, just a short email citing operational instability. Evan reassured leadership it was an isolated issue. He said things were under control. Meanwhile, Daniel was busy. Not retaliating, not complaining, documenting. For years, Daniel had kept copies of process maps he designed, risk frameworks he authored, performance benchmarks he personally tracked. Everything was timestamped, everything clearly credited. It wasn't paranoia, it was discipline. What the company had forgotten was a clause Daniel himself had insisted on adding years earlier. At the time, no one cared. Any proprietary system not explicitly listed as company-owned remained the intellectual property of its creator. They trusted him. They never thought they would need it. Daniel never reminded them, until now. As operational failures multiplied, the company tried to rebuild externally. Consultants were hired, millions were spent, slide decks multiplied. Nothing worked. Because Daniel's systems weren't just documents, they were adaptive. They were built around judgment, not templates. Then came the audit. Regulators requested documentation that no longer existed in usable form. Deadlines were missed, fines escalated, the stock dipped, the board panicked. Quietly, carefully, they reached out to Daniel. The message was friendly, almost casual. "Would you consider short-term consulting?" Daniel replied 2 days later. He said he was open to discussion. His consulting rate was 4 times his former salary. Usage rights to his systems would require a licensing agreement. Full compliance reconstruction would take 12 months, non-negotiable. They hesitated. Then another client left. They signed. Daniel returned, not as an employee, but as authority. He rebuilt the systems they had dismantled. This time, every document carried his name. Every process required his approval. Every solution came with a licensing fee. Evan resigned quietly weeks later. The board never admitted the mistake publicly. Internally, they calculated the cost. Severance, consultant fees, lost revenue, regulatory fines, stock depreciation. The number was brutal. Replacing Daniel to save money had cost them more than keeping him for a decade. Daniel never celebrated. He never mocked them. When the contract ended, he walked away again, this time with ownership, leverage, and freedom. He didn't destroy the company, he let math do it. And numbers, unlike people, don't lie.